Hello, once again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Before we get into this week's episode, of course, want to give a thanks to those who help us bring the show to you for free on whichever podcast platform you choose to listen. Thanks to our guy Brock at Smokin' Jay's Barbecue. Brock was in attendance last week in Akron, as he always is. Got to see him. Good time. And we'd never get to have Smokin' Jay's at Akron. Unfortunately, they've got their own setup there at the Tadmor Shrine. And
no concessions at all at the Tadmor Shrine for
us. Yeah, right. Yeah,
which makes it a little tough to run there sometimes. But not gonna lie.
Yeah. Not as financially viable for us at times. We don't get that concession dollar amount, but nonetheless, Brock's still showing up to support, which is always it's always great to see him and have that support. So you should support him as well. Follow at smokin_Jays, Jays, BBQ on all social media. If you live down in the Massillon area, definitely worth checking out. He's got a spot there you can pick up. I think they're still doing some food delivery. Do we know? Did he ever get that underway? I believe DoorDash or Grubhub or something.
I don't know. I don't know. I know that things are constantly in fluid
evolving
motion.
Yeah,
as far as the Smokin' Jays goes.
Well, there you go. But check him out on social media. I have all that information for you there. I know for a fact that he definitely does catering. So if you've got an event, whether you're in the Canton-Massillon area or really most places in Northeast Ohio, he's willing to travel. They set up out at Toy Ohio, even all the way out in Youngstown. Folks are familiar with them there. So check out Smokin' Jay's Barbecue on all the social media platforms. And hey, of course, thanks to the merger between IWTV and Smart Mark Video, watching AIW has never been easier. You go to smartmarkvideo.com and you can check out the entire available archive of AIW. Anything that's ever been on DVD, you can catch it there. You can buy it if you're into physical media. If you like the digital, you can purchase MP4s to own those. All of it at smartmarkvideo.com. If you want to check out other promotions and you're more of a subscription kind of person, you like rotating archives, a la Netflix, HBO Max, everything else that's out there, go to IWTV. IndependentWrestling.tv is where you can go to sign up for the website. You can also download the app if you've got a smart TV or any sort of smart device, realistically. And $9.99 is going to get you lots of wrestling.
There are 174 AIW offerings currently available.
How about
IWTV?
That is wild. And how many AIW offerings on Smart Mark Video, John Thorne?
Oh, God, a lot. Over 200. I stopped counting. I don't know.
We did, yeah. We counted 200, and that was it.
Good for me.
We moved on. We moved on from there. So do that. Smartmarkvideo.com.
Yeah. Just even elaborate on that. The waters get a little muddy there with the go for broke. You know what I mean? Is an episode
that's
count
true.
as an event?
That is.
Does a taping count as an event? You know what I mean? There's up for debate. So I'll leave it up to the scientists for that.
Well, I would say that the 200 number is more live events. I feel like that's fair to say. I think that's what that number would be. Go for broke, kind of its own little entity, if you will. No fans in attendance, so I think that's its own standalone thing. All of that being said, we roll into this week's episode. And of course, AIW owner John Thorne is here. You've already heard from him. My name is Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts. And, we're going to talk a little bit about the show that just took place. The Doctor is in from Akron, Ohio, the Tadmor Shrine, which is now available for streaming on IWTV, as I mentioned. You can watch AIW shows. That is part of the 174 AIW shows available on IWTV now.
Offerings. That's what I'm calling them. Offerings.
Offerings.
Oh, before I forget, at the complete annoyance of Josh Gold, I have released for a limited time an official AIW track jacket available on AIWmerch.com. Available in extra small all the way up to 3X. It's a little pricey. They are $75 plus shipping. However, I would not anticipate them to be available long because I was always kind of against track jackets being available to the general public. I wanted them to be a roster only sort of thing. But Jay Gold has been pestering me for months about it. So we designed one a little bit different than what the roster has. And we made it available for the time being. I don't know how long we're going to leave it up there. As Paul Greer mentioned today in the Discord, he was going to order one before I came to my senses. So going to leave it up for at least a few days. And once they're gone, they're gone. AIWmerch.com.
Ooh, maybe I'll have to get one of those. Nice little plug ski there. Before we get too far, John Thorne, it's shout out segment time here for our show. Quick shout out to precursor to the show on Saturday. Shout out to my dude Dan Inks. He does some marketing stuff here for some bars and restaurants in town. Little fun gathering with Derek Dillinger. Had a good time. Got to pop into Lost Social Club, whatever the heck it's called. Did that again, and then some after hours partying.
You guys got like a little secret club going on, huh?
Yeah, secret club. We got into a secret club.
You and Derek, secret club.
Well, he likes to be. He's I don't know what to call him. The man about town. Not really a man about whatever. He's trying to be a man about town, trying to get out there more, I guess. He likes his
late nights?
He likes his late nights, likes being an extrovert. Man, didn't get home till 5 a.m. Friday evening, Saturday morning. It was a long one. It was great, complete with catering. We went to some after hours. We were made nice grilled panini sandwiches. It's the whole thing. It's great. Also, shout out to the East Coast Martial Arts and everybody that also works with Dominic Guerrini. Man, they showed up in Akron, Ohio, and it was really cool to have that reception for him. I'm sure we'll talk more on that. And also his parents, of course, they wat there too. I just thought the ovation was great for Dom.
I told him after about 10 years, it was about time he fucking drew a ticket. That's what I told him. So it took long enough. Only took a health scare to drum up some fucking ticket sales.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. But he did it. And shout out to the Town Tavern. We had ourselves a nice little after party. Not really an after party, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't much of an after party. It was just we went and got something to eat there. Nice spot. Yeah,
we just looked. I mean, because there's no official after party. Different on the official after parties going forward. We'll see where I'm at in April. But we didn't have any official after party, so we just kind of were looking for somewhere to get food and have a couple cocktails. And Josh was like, "Oh, we'll go to this place called the Town Tavern." I was like, "Oh, okay." I've eaten there before a show, in the afternoon. It's like a nice little restaurant. Well, Josh Bishop didn't inform anybody that we were going into a fucking club. You know what I mean? Full on dance club that they turned this restaurant into. All the people, half the people that came weren't even allowed in because there's a dress code.
No sweatpants.
Yeah. Poor fucking Razor Sharp. Denied at the door. Unbelievable. So I don't know how much. I don't know about giving them a shout. I don't even think we should shout out the fucking Town Tavern.
They were not ready for Razor Sharp, but also Razor Sharp not ready for them. Wasn't ready for the dress code.
I just had to wait around for food forever.
Yeah,
I was out of there. By 1:00, which is pretty rare. That's why I will not even classify it as an after party. It was like an after this place is annoying gathering.
So a not shout out to Josh Bishop. Is that what you're saying? Because he steered us wrong.
Correct.
All right. There you go.
Would have been better to go to the Portage Lakes or something.
Which you wanted to do. I'll say it. I know you wanted to. So shout out to the Portage Lakes because it's where we should have gone. Shout out to Dr. D and everybody that purchased his books. He brought his books to sell, and I think he sold all but one, maybe, of whatever he brought.
I think he sold them all.
Did he end up selling them all?
Yeah. We'll get into Dr. D in a little
bit. We'll get into Dr. D in a bit. But you got any shout outs there, John Thorne?
Shout out. Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me find the exact. Okay, shout out to Coop at Billups_Derek, as well as Pretty Ruckspin at Jury_prosciutto. It's prosciutto. All right. Shout out to them. They brought a local celebrity with them, which based on our little shout out jokes on this podcast, they brought the alleged mistress of number 6 from the Cheesecake Factory to sit in the crowd on Saturday night. So not a lot of people aware. There were many celebrities in attendance, but specifically that celebrity was there. Shout out to those guys. I had been aware of this friendship for a while, and I always would, crack jokes whenever I would see Coop, as he goes by in the IW crowd, just making jokes. And sure enough, he brought the celeb with him, and he introduced me to the young lady, and he introduced her as Mrs. Number 6, and she did not like that title. So she did not want to continue the conversation on any further at that point. So I just kind of walked away because it was very awkward. Very awkward encounter, but celebrity was in the house nonetheless. So shout out to those guys for making that happen.
You could say she's a D-list celebrity, if you will.
No, come on. We're not going there.
Just saying. Shout out to Nathan Zagura. Speaking of local celebrities, Nathan Zagura popping in on commentary again.
Enough controversy going around. We don't need to be making jokes like that, Steve. Come on.
Well, but yeah, Nathan Zagura, good to have him popping in, doing some commentary once again. Although some controversy there, John Thorne.
Is that right?
The Duke, very unhappy that Nathan Zagura sat in on Derek Dillinger's match, because typically the Duke calls those.
Yeah, well, Derek Dillinger is like a little Browns fanboy, so you knew 100% he was going to be requesting Nathan Zagura commentate his match, which, as predicted, is what happened. And Duke took great offense to that. So a little heat ski in the heel locker room going on between those two. Got very heated behind that curtain at the Tadmore Shrine between Mr. Dillinger and Mr. Duke. But yeah, Duke was all sorts of
wound up.
Man, I feel bad for Duke. He's going through a hellacious tax season. For everybody that doesn't know, Duke is an active CPA, head of a pretty decently sized tax firm, in which recently ownership changed hands to a tax person, a non-CPA. I'm not exactly sure. So Duke has taken on the majority of the workload for the agency as they kind of, continue through the transition of ownership. And man, the Duke is just burnt to a crisp. He showed up after doors, sent Brooke, AIW student Brooke, to go get him, I think, 3 monsters, in which he drank all 3 of them upon her return, just so he could be pepped up enough for the show, for his spot on the show. And then when he was leaving, he said, "I'm going back to work." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, you got to work early in the morning?" And he said, "No, I'm going right back to my office. And I figure, by the time I get there and I get rolling, I should be able to go home by noon on Sunday." So he went from the show back to his office and worked through the night until noon the next day. So the Duke is, shout out to the Duke. He's been burning it at both ends during this tax season.
Yeah, that's, absolutely wild. When he told me he was leaving and going back to work, I was like, "What do you mean you're going back to work tonight? Right now?" Like, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock, whatever it was.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. He was just like, so he was going back to put in another 12 hours on no sleep.
Absolutely nuts. And I realize that we're running the risk of getting people to empathize with the Duke by talking about this. But, sometimes the man, he does deserve his flowers. So I think people don't realize the lengths that he goes to be there and perform so that they can hate him.
Speaking of hating him, that's a whole other thing that he was dealing with this week,
Yeah.
Was, which we had addressed on this podcast before, is the, 1,588 days thing, in which, people got wind of that again and were trying to, I guess, make connections of some sort of dog whistle to white supremacy on a Winchester show. So, the Duke was kind of really stressed out about that. Work, the scheduling, everything. And then, of course, he gets there early to commentate Derek Dillinger's match, and Derek has requested Nathan Zagura does the honors. So Duke was none too pleased, I will say.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the folks at West Park Barbershop, who the reason they received the shout out, Wes Barkley's new due, for those who were in attendance on Saturday evening. So shout out to those guys there for taking care of our boys. I think Derek also goes there too, and I think a few people. But Wes Barkley had to make it look good after getting the shoddy haircut job from Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. So the guys at West Park Barbershop hooking him up. Enough for the shout outs. Unless you have any more, John Thorne, we get into talking about what happened last weekend.
No shout outs. Okay.
All right. So Tadmore Shrine, the doctor is in. The doctor was in. And let's start there. How was the experience with Dr. D, David?
So to be quite honest, because we never spoke on the phone. We only were communicating via Facebook. So there was a part of me that thought I very well could have been being catfished. You know what I mean? So, there was a part of me that was like, this could just, we sent him a money order, but you don't know what happens to that after it gets sent out into the world. You know what I mean? So there's a part of me that thought, like, I don't know, maybe he's going to show up. Maybe he's not. Friday afternoon, he started messaging me, asking for directions for his hotel, because his GPS was not picking up, because there's a bunch of like construction and all kinds of different things over there, because he was staying real close to the venue, and his GPS wasn't picking it up. So I looked up, some directions from, I think it was 76 East he was on. to get to his hotel. And he told me that, he arrived at his hotel Friday afternoon, said he was going to rest. So I was like prepared in the, like, okay, am I going to have to go eat dinner with Dr. D? Is he going to want to get his money? You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I was kind of like in a holding pattern on Friday, and he said he was going to rest and he would get a hold of me in the morning. So I was like, okay. So Saturday morning, I don't really hear from him. And I'm kind of running around trying to get everything together because I know that it's going to snow. So I don't want to forget anything and have to do that, back and forth trip, last minute. So I got down to Akron about like 1 or 2 o'clock, and, just kind of waiting around, like, and he said he'd be there at 5, and about 4:55, I'm talking to somebody. They go, "Oh, there he is. The doctor's in." And I look, and Dr. D. David Schultz is standing at the door talking to Pedro, and he's asking who John is. And I go over and I speak to him, and he asked for his money right away, in which we gave to him, and then we took him over to a spot, and we told him he could sell his books, and we were going to sell the 8x10s, and he started kind of holding court a little bit, telling some bounty hunting stories and, different things involving putting guns in people's mouths and stuff. So, and then, he cut, which was, nice, but also a way to probably move some books is, he said, any of the crew or students that were around, if they wanted to, he would cut them a discount on the book. So, he did that. I grabbed one of the books off of him, and I know a couple other people did, like Carter and a few other students. And then he goes, "I didn't know that you guys were training people up here." He said, "If I would have known, I would have got in there and rolled around with some people last night." And he starts grabbing me. He said, "You ever been in the ring?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You ever been in the ring with somebody like me?" I said, "Probably not." And he started doing like those Josh Bishop, like fucking grab your shoulders real hard things to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Always a good time.
I was like, oh God, I don't know what's about to happen right now, and, but he was funny, he's just busting balls and having a good time. Him and Kaplan were chopping it up there for a little bit. It looked like they were becoming fast friends. And, a few of the students, like Big Sam, Donhausen, Carter, a lot of them, kind of hung around him throughout the duration of the evening. And some of them got to watch the show, the first half of the show he stayed for and watched. And I'm sure that they got all sorts of interesting commentary from Dr. D. David Schultz. But, there was a good part of me that thought maybe I wasn't talking to the real Dr. D. David Schultz. That really set in like the day of the show when I was like, that's interesting that this guy like is in town and doesn't want to meet up at all. You know what I mean? Like he's just like here. He drove 700 miles and like he doesn't want to see that, like see any proof that the event's going on. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it all seems very strange. And he didn't post about it on his Facebook page or anything. So it's like, fuck, who knows? But he did send me a really nice message at 4:20 in the morning on Sunday morning. Because so I didn't get, I'm kind of bummed I didn't get a picture with him because I thought he was going to hang around for a while, and he just kind of, after intermission, he was out of there.
Yeah, he snuck right out.
Because he drove himself. And I guess he told people he's driving straight home, which I thought was bullshit, because I'd got him a hotel for both nights, so I didn't think that he was really going to drive home. But the fact that he was messaging me at Sunday morning at 4:20 in the morning means that he probably did just get in his car and start driving.
Yeah, because he probably left about 9 p.m.
Right.
On Saturday night.
Right. So he said, "Hi, John. Thank you for everything, my friend. If you ever need me for anything, just call. There are very few promoters that can be trusted, and you have made my list as a great promoter. Again, thanks. And your guys did a great job. I'll talk to you in a few days. You have my phone number. Please feel free to text D." And then this morning he messaged me again and said, I wanted to let you know I made it home with no problems. I wanted to thank you again for a good show. Take care. And if I can ever do anything, please let me know, my friend. It's pretty fucking cool to get that kind of message from Dr. D, David Schultz. You know what I mean? Like, even though I didn't get a picture with him, like, that's like, I sent that to Pedro, and because he was really a driving force in this Dr. D thing. And he was like, man, that is probably a message to save forever, I don't see Dr. D being that nice to so many people. Maybe he is, but I thought that was a really nice message, and it was really, it's stuff like that, like, we kind of got into it last week, and the price of the show, and it was a very expensive show, and we were all kind of down about how just impossible the break-even point had become on the show after the travel expenses and everything. We were all kind of down, I think, collectively. I know I certainly was on Saturday, and I know Pedro was, because Pedro and Dom stress far more than I even stress. So, to get a message like that, it goes, okay, you know what? Like, we have Minoru Suzuki next month. You know what I mean? Like, that show is selling astronomically great. Like, it's okay that this one didn't make it to the break even point. But to get that message, I thought, maybe it sounds marky or whatever, but made me feel good. It made me feel like, okay, you know what? It was worth it.
Well, and you have every right. I mean, it should make you feel good, because you do something like this and you had a good experience with him as your guest, but you want to know that you were a good host. Like, that's very much an important part, because if we're going to do these meet and greets, and I don't know how many people Dr. D keeps in touch with or talks to, but on the off chance he talks to somebody that we may book down the line for a meet and greet, he had a good positive experience. He's going to relay that message, or anybody that we've ever had as a meet and greet, because this has happened before. We've had multiple people as meet and greets who have then reached out to somebody else, and it worked out in our favor because we did a good job. So it's always good to get a message like that. Certainly.
Right. It's like almost something to put on the IWTV press kit. You know what I mean? As approved by Dr. D. David Schultz.
Yeah, but, exactly.
It did make me, feel good. I was, because like, Pedro was really bummed because as the guy that is, basically the chief fiscal officer, he's, I know the numbers, but, he is really kind of micromanaging every little expense. Mm-hmm. And, he just like, he was like, man, because especially in Akron, because, he lives close to there, and, it's the Akron events are especially close to, his heart, because that's where he's from. Pedro lives like a 6-minute drive away from the Tadmor Shrine. But Pedro's big thing is he never thought that there was high quality events in his area. He always had to drive to Cleveland or wherever else, or Pittsburgh, or all these other places when he was a fan. So to be able to bring AIW there and put on, a quality product in his town, like the Akron shows are very, very special to Pedro. Mm-hmm. So, he's always kind of on extra high alert if they're not doing well, because he doesn't want me to go, okay, that's it. Like, I guess we're done in Akron, So he was he was really kind of on, high alert, I guess, on Saturday night. But it is what it is. Sometimes you win some, you lose some. Some this stuff was totally out of our control. When we booked the show, like, you couldn't have predicted that flights that are normally, I don't know, 170 to 225 were going to go to between 600 and 700. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, right.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that was going to happen.
Well, as we talk about the show itself and the gate, the people coming in, real quick, again, just to reiterate what John said, we do have Suzuki coming up April 22nd at the Odeon in Cleveland, Ohio. Only general admission tickets remain, folks. So go to shop.aiwrestling.com to get your tickets to that and come out for that one. It's going to be a hell of a show. Also, Shazza McKenzie, you've announced she's going to be there as well. We'll circle back to all of that, but I want to make sure we told people ahead of everything. But back to Akron here, the show, I was thinking about this because we talked about it and we thought the crowd was good, but there were moments where we just thought, man, are they not with us as long as we would like them to be? Because make no mistake, this was a really good card, and I thought that the matches all really, the matches delivered, and everybody did a great job. And I started to think back, and maybe because that's such a big space, this crowd definitely was smaller than the last time we were there. It was smaller than Hey Yo, as we remember it back in February 2020. So I think that had a lot to do with it, because it was still a good crowd. As I really think back to the reactions and people being vocal and participating throughout the show, it's just that it was a smaller crowd than what we've had there in past. Still a pretty good size crowd, but just smaller than what we had, where it almost felt like it was wall to wall the last few shows that we did there. And it's such a big room that when it's not that way, you can lose some of that sound.
So the thing that's weird is, the pre-sale certainly picked up during the week. But I'm looking now and it looks like we had about 25 people that didn't even show up. I don't know if it was the weather or what have you. So, I think we had probably a little under 400, which, we've been really getting to that number or higher in Akron typically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little a little bt lighter than usual in a way, but like I said, I'm looking and it looks like 23 people did not check in, that bought tickets did not check in. So, for whatever reason. But yeah, so I'm interested now that it's on IWTV, and please, I encourage everyone to, tweet us, your feedback and review, and please live tweet the show. I felt live the matches delivered, but the crowd was a little flat at times, and I don't know if it's my fault for the order of the show, or if it was just a weirder crowd than usual, or people were feeling some kind of way because it wasn't so packed in there. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, when the crowd's not quite as large as what it is when it's so packed, you lose some of that crowd noise, and therefore you just lose some of that energy, because it's a very big room and high ceilings, and that's just that happens with venues sometimes. The sound just kind of goes up and
yeah,
it's gone.
I mean, listen, I saw what Vince said to Shawn Michaels in that WrestleMania documentary about WrestleMania 9. I understand, the noise goes up or whatever. But like the crowd is usually pretty hot in Akron too. So
yeah.
I don't know if it was just an off night or if we drew so many new fans, or if we had too many new acts on the show. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons for it, maybe. You know what I mean? Or it just kind of, live, it felt flat to me, to where the Odeon is always hot because it is a much more intimate room.
Right.
So I don't know. It just, to me, something something about the show felt off. It by no means was the matches. I think all the matches delivered. For the most part, it just for whatever reason, something just felt like it wasn't totally clicking.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But it'll be interesting to see how, like you said, how that comes back on IWTV. Maybe it sounds completely different, and people are like, maybe it's just the acoustics from where you guys are, because that
Right.
the cameras are going to pick up that sound very quickly from the crowd, because it's just going to go right to it, and they've got everything. So we'll have to watch it back, and we'll see. And for that reason, folks, though, it is streaming now on IWTV.
And
We'll
honestly,
talk
it could
about
have
the
just
card.
it could have just been the mood. You know what I mean? It could have been the knowing how far in the hole we kind of were on this show. You know, it
Maybe
could
we
just
just
been,
weren't into it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know, it was just like one of those things, and it was snowing, and I don't know. But
Yeah.
it just something felt off to me. I know we're supposed to really fucking sell it on this podcast, and like I said, maybe it translates amazing to video. I haven't watched the replay yet, but yeah, I don't know. I just felt like something was missing for whatever reason.
But the matches themselves, man, they really do. They do deliver. We'll talk about the card, and we'll jump around because of the fact that a lot of people have not been able to watch it yet. We're not going to give you results and things. We'll just talk about a couple things here and there from this stuff, and kind of go on. We also have a lot of questions to get to from the Discord today, as we always do, but it seems like more than usual. So yeah, well, let's talk about the matches themselves. We lead off with Derek Dillinger and Riley Rose, and Derek, man, he just continues to be like violent is how I would describe his style at this point. Good Lord.
I think what really stood out here is how, and this is by no means a dig at all, but how established Derek's entire presentation is compared to Riley Rose, who has not figured that out yet at all, I don't think. And I think he needs, that is what he is missing personally, is he needs to figure out who Riley Rose is. And I think it is, he's extremely talented.
Oh, and super talented. Like if there was a workhorse award in terms of matches show to show, I would give that to Riley Rose.
I think he's been hidden in a lot of these scrambles and things like that, to where the crowd doesn't get a chance to really analyze any further. But I think in the singles against Derek, who has such a presentation, it was very detrimental to Riley Rose because he doesn't have that character and presentation and presence and equity built with the fans yet, in that way. So I think that it was that was a learning experience for all parties involved, including myself, as to what we need to work on with Riley Rose and going forward, because he has the wrestling part. Man, I've been coughing for like 2 months, dude.
What is going on? But I think that with Riley, it's it's a cup half full sort of situation, right? Whereas you may feel like this was a little bit of a detriment to him in this match. It's also a very big benefit in ways, because he's stacked up against Derek, who has that presentation locked down. And make no mistake, like the transition from Derek direction, who we knew when he first came into AIW, or
it took a long time.
And Derek Dillinger, right? So that's really nothing against Riley, because Riley puts forth, as you just said, so much effort, and so he's able to see, I think, the missing pieces. Like, okay, he saw Derek connect with the audience at different points and what he was doing, and he can see, oh, all right, well, I did not necessarily connect with them in that way, so how can I do that? But also in terms of the audience, because they get to watch Riley in a one-on-one singles competition and not get lost in a scramble. This is truly one of those moments where a lot of the audience does get to see what we're saying of how good of a wrestler he is, because that still says something. You could have a great presentation and then you can suck in the ring, and Riley's not going to be that, So we've seen guys who have had great presentations throughout the years in independent wrestling who get that opportunity and it falls flat because they just can't work. Riley's thankfully not going to be that person. So we just got to work on, presentation, character stuff. But I think that he really did shine in the sense that he really got to show these people what a great worker he is in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things to where, this is what we do, and we'll work with him, and hopefully, we can get the I's dotted and the T's crossed so he can continue to evolve. That was just my takeaway.
Sure.
And maybe, in retrospect, maybe I should not have opened with that, because, Riley is not as an established babyface to go against such a gigantic kind of character heel and Derek, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's like I can look back on every show and think of mistakes, and this is by no means any sort of dig at Riley Rose at all. It's just, things I'm realizing in what we can do to kind of better his evolution.
Yeah. But, watch it, listen, folks, from the pure wrestling standpoint, and maybe you folks have a different take. You're what we listen to. It's your reactions, right? And your feedback. So watch this match by all means and let us know what you think and where you'd like to see things go. And then, we have Jocelyn Navarro in our second match, and Katie Arquette gets her first big opportunity with AIW in front of a big crowd. She's done Winchester, and on this night, she gets the main stage, so to speak.
Yeah, just another kind of benefit of those Winchester events, and putting something out there and giving Jocelyn a unique matchup. Eventually, we're gonna have to mix it up, and Jocelyn can't be the girl that wins on every single show. And that's what we're working on, but Jocelyn is, from our school, she's been working hard. She continues to work hard and helps train at the academy now. We just gotta get some opponents for her and continue to kind of rebuild this women's division, and don't get too excited about that, but rebuild the women's division. So
will there be a new women's title?
Continue to kind of evolve that as well. I think there's a ton of upside to Katie Arquette. And it was good to be able to see her in this atmosphere, and I won't get too much into it, but I was able to tell her kind of different things that I think would help her presentation going forward. And I think we'll probably see more of her, maybe, back on some Winchester shows and things like that, and continuing to mix things up.
I will say that these two have a good chemistry together, I think, when they're in the ring.
Is chemistry beating the fuck out of each other? Because they were hitting each other so hard.
Yeah, sometimes it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is. And I talked to Katie afterwards, and she was saying that she enjoyed it, and she felt like their chemistry picked up a notch. these two have worked each other on shows for other promotions as they were coming up. And she said they had not been in the ring together in 3 years. And she said the difference that she felt from 3 years ago was, was night and day. And it was like they both had worked to get back to this point together, and it was really neat.
And I think a lot of that, a lot of credit needs to be given to Jocelyn. I mean, 3 years
100%.
ago, she was a completely different wrestler, and she's come to the school and put in a lot of work over these last few years. And I've told Jocelyn this. I saw very little upside in Jocelyn, even when she first started at the school. Like, I did not think that she had it, and she continued to work, and she proved me wrong. And that's what people are supposed to do, right? You're supposed to, if somebody doesn't see it, you're supposed to make them see it, and she did. And I I totally eat my words and opinion on that. But I think she would probably agree that 3-4 years ago, she wasn't the wrestler that she is now. And I think, that is a credit to, the AW Academy and the training environment that we've cultivated over these last few years, and continue to kind of evolve.
I also think that there is a little bit of a unsung crediting to the people that she has worked over the last, almost a year now, really, since we came back in April. Standing out to me in particular is, she gets that match with Allison Kay, and AK is just the consummate professional. And I think that Jocelyn probably learned, I mean, I know she did from talking to her, but just took so much from that match in particular moving forward.
I mean,
just continued
a
that
lot
evolution.
A lot of the matches, Lufisto,
yep.
Even at the North Canton Street Festival, she got to work with Zoe Sky for the first time again in a long time.
Yep.
All sorts of, and that's kind of the benefit when, she is the girl that is getting the matches on every show, is, that's our girl. That's the girl that's coming out of our program. You know what I mean? And that is the benefits that you get when you come to train in our program. You know what I mean? Like, you get on shows and you get to work with world-class professionals. And, that's, she's been reaping the benefits of that and doing very well.
We move forward and we go Jackson Stone, who, we covered this leading into the show, had participated in the New Talent Initiative in Akron back in 2020, and this was a great opportunity. We get to bring him back. He takes on Dom Guerrini, and we talked about at the top of this episode. This is Dom's first time wrestling in his home area. I did the math before announcing him. Over 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, Hey Yo would have probably been the last one.
That was the last one, because even when we did Akron last year, I think there was
he had to do MLW.
MLW, yeah, and then later on, he had his injury that he was dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, I'm very happy for Dom. A good moment. This is one thing, and I said this to somebody else. The thing that is interesting about AIW is how at times it is almost like the traveling high school sports team for the families. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
and some people's families come out more than others. Dom's father is having a lot of health problems, and can't make those trips to Cleveland. So, his mom and his dad came on Saturday, And that was so special for Dom, for his dad, who has been going through a lot of really bad health problems, mixed with Dom, who has had his fair share of bad health problems over the last year. I think that was just so incredibly special for him to be able to do that and wrestle in front of his parents like that and see, how happy and proud of him that they were. I think that was just such a great thing for him. And, really just him. Nobody knew, nobody knew that, that was going on. But that was just so special for Dom. And, you you see it with a lot of the people that come out of the school, and, how tight knit we are. In turn comes a lot of the family support. Josh Bishop's family is very rarely misses a show. Wes Barkley's family, Chuck Stone's family, Arthur MacArthur's family has been out there. So many of the students.
Jocelyns family shows up.
Jocelyns family, yeah. Like, so many of the students have this great kind of foundational family support. And it's great to see because, there was a time in wrestling where that was like frowned upon. You know what I mean? Like, oh, your mom's here. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Like,
yeah.
But like, it's so much, it's like so uplifting and positive when you really boil it down and look at it. Like it's just one of those great things, like much like the the Dr. D messages I shared, being able to do that for Dom and, everyone else whose family came out. I mean, I can't stop coughing, man. I've been coughing for like three months. But, just being able to do that. I mean, that's another one of those things to where it's like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to lose a couple $100 today, but Dom and his family are going to remember that for the rest of time. Josh and his family are going to remember, all this time spent together. Wes and his family, it's like all that stuff is, makes it very much worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, folks, we're not going to talk too much about these matches, so you can watch it on IWTV. Which is
I will say, and
go ahead,
not to breeze over Jackson Stone, but
yeah,
I will say that, he did a few things here and there throughout the years. I think he really impressed me on this show. I really, I thought he was kind of like a serviceable wrestler until seeing him in this environment with Dom. And I thought, wow, like this guy has a presentation. He has, he's got, the whole package. He just needs more of a platform. And I know he's done some things with Impact here and there, but I don't think it's really taken off too much. But I was really impressed with Jackson Stone and how far he's come.
Much more polished than what you recall from the last time seeing him.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it was like a night and day.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of polished people, Josh Prohibition makes his singles return. He's been feeling good as of late, and feeling as healthy as he maybe could be right now. And so he gets a singles match with Chase Oliver here, and the old wily veteran against the Chase is still. He's one of those guys where you forget he's still kind of young in his career because he's had the setbacks that he has.
Yeah, he's still probably, if you really boil it down, rather inexperienced, just based on all the starts and the stops.
Yeah, so this is a great chance and opportunity for him, and not just the learning curve of more experience because he's had the start and stop, but to be in this environment with a Josh Prohibition, obviously you just look at these two and you're like, they do not have a similar style of wrestling. So it's an opportunity for Chase to work with somebody with a completely different style than his, which just makes you a better wrestler, right?
Right. And, Josh wanted somebody that, was a bit more athletic and he wanted somebody that was going to kind of push him a little bit. And I thought Chase was perfect for that. But, much like Riley Rose, I do think, Chase is also needs to find that one little thing as well, whatever it is. He's really polished his in-ring stuff, but where Derek and Riley was a little weird, I think this was weird in the fact that this match may have been better suited for the Odeon in Cleveland, just based on the fact that is a much more hardcore fan base. And the babyface dynamic in Akron, I don't know how well that plays.
Sure.
Because there are so many people that are not familiar with everybody. So I think the match was great. I think they really got them in the home stretch, but it took a little bit to get the crowd going in this one.
You go babyface to the next match, and I'm interested to hear your take because, I got to listen in as these four guys talked about things afterwards. And our next match was To Infinity and Beyond versus Jericho Appreciation Society. Matt Menard, Angelo Parker. And this is more of a heel, though, there was like that turning point, and it still is kind of happening. You see it a little bit of To Infinity and Beyond becoming babyface to the AIW faithful, but maybe not full on yet. So this has an interesting dynamic on top of the fact that they've known each other just forever.
Yeah, I think so. I think To Infinity and Beyond is falling into that. They, were so dominant and so hated because they were always the champions, to kind of evolving into this pseudo babyface, I guess, categorization because they are so established on the roster and have so much tenure. And it's kind of funny because, we haven't had this conversation, but they kind of can see in the situations that I've been putting them in where it's going. And they're such pros that they have I've given them zero instruction, but they start leaning into it reluctantly because I think even they still want to be heels,
Yeah.
But they have no choice but to kind of lean into it and, start clapping and stomping the apron and, and like, it's just one of those weird transitions. And, I've talked about, I just like doing weird little experiments like that, like pulling off the double turn, with PME and the Rip City Shooters. I just like trying little things like that, and this is just another example of it.
And so I think that the guys from the Jericho Appreciation Society, formerly 2.0, I did think that they were super entertaining to watch in this smaller venue compared to like an AEW show. Very like they knew how to engage that audience no matter the size, and they were very good with it from the opening, from them coming out. And they were working it as heels as they are presented on television. But these are guys that maybe people don't realize have been around for quite some time. And it was interesting listening to the dynamic afterwards that they were like, okay, well, Colin and Cheech, like, yeah, you guys still are kind of heels, babyface. They're not really sure what to make of you guys. And they were saying that like maybe we should have just worked entirely babyface just because we're TV stars. and people were of course behind the music and all the little things. He's like, maybe we should have just done that. And so you guys could just,
I really didn't care either way. I just wanted this to be fun. I just wanted this to be fun. I didn't expect this to be, a 5-star tag match. I just wanted this to kind of be change of pace on the card.
And I think it was that.
You know, for lack of better description, be more sports entertaining. And I think we achieved that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just, guys are always going to break down their matches. Hey, what did work and what didn't? And it was just so interesting. And I don't want to say refreshing, because we've had a lot of positive experiences with people who work TV and have come to AIW, obviously. But it was just very interesting to hear guys who work television as heels say, I think it just speaks to the respect that they have for Colin and Cheech, if that makes sense. They're like, all right, this is your home turf, Colin and Cheech. We love you. We respect you. And because of that, they were willing to put aside whatever they're presented as on television and just work what works best for them. And I thought that was incredible that they even were having that conversation afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, all good. No complaints out of me. I thought it delivered.
And then we go to the surprise match of the night. To the folks who were there, you know it now, folks. It's on the IWTV run sheet. But we got Pretty Boy Smooth and Matthew Justice with Fonzie. And, this one becomes violent. We get to see a side of PB that not a lot of people push him to go that route. We don't see him getting hardcore, so to speak.
I don't know that he needs to get hardcore, but I do definitely think he needs to establish that he is a threat. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this was an opportunity to try to do that. I know, he's been experimenting with this new character. I'm not 100% on board with it. You know what I mean? Just being completely transparent. So I wanted to put him in a situation to see what would happen. You know what I mean? Like what could, because he's very, very like in depth as to what this character is. And I just wanted to put him in this situation and see what would happen. So I thought it was, there were a lot of good learning, I guess, experiments or, exercises on this card. And this is a prime example of one.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a fun one to watch. The match delivers. I think Justice and Fonzie really help PB get to that next gear, the next level.
And I think the thing, to go back on the kind of flatness of the show, as soon as Pantera Walk hit coming out of intermission, everybody jumps up. You know what I mean? And it's like an established person they're familiar with. And it kind of woke them up. So, I think we're just going through a little bit of growing pains, establishing some of the newer talent that don't have as much equity built in with the fans.
Sure. And then we go 4-way tag match, bulking season, Bitcoin Boys, the main event, and PME. I thought this sure as heck delivered. This is that quintessential AIW 4-way tag match that people have come to love really throughout all the years.
And I think, I think this is kind of, something that is typically put on the front end.
Sure, kind of get the people going.
And gets the people going, and I think, the more that we talk about it and analyze the show, maybe I just ordered it wrong, and that's why things were a little flatter with the crowd than usual. In retrospect, you know what I mean? Like Prohibition and Chase following Dom's big return, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that should have been rearranged, now looking at it, with the full fucking view of everything. But, that's the name of the game, booking and promoting. You can't you don't get a do-over. And all I can do is kind of take this as a learning experience, much like, there's a lot of learning exercises for the people coming out of the academy on this event. I never stop learning. And, this is a prime example. This is a prime example of, maybe, I almost 100% think I probably should have done some things a little bit differently on this card.
Well, and I understand the thought process with this match in particular because it is a tag title match. There are 4 tag teams, but it's for the tag title. And I know that you typically like to, put those titles in an important space on the card towards the back end. But I don't know that there would have been anything wrong with putting it early on. Like maybe could you seen a scenario where, hey, this opens the show and this just gets people right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, I like putting, it's a title match. I'd like to put it on later on. Just one of those things, like there's no right or wrong way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess the question comes to, in relevance to importance of a match, is the opening match just as important? Like, is it a big deal to be in that opening match just as it is to be in a later card match?
I think so. I mean, okay. I think, the first match and the last match are usually pretty important. Sometimes it's based on, what I think can get the most excitement or, there's different thought processes into what exactly makes that first match important. It can mean a lot of different things based on a lot of different situations. There's not like one specific reason why, but this is what I told a lot of people on the show. Afterwards, I said, I think everything played well for video. I just think there was a lack of getting the crowd involved in the matches. And it's 2 kind of different mindsets that you have to find a middle ground on as a performer. And I just think that some of it was lacking a little bit. And you could tell they're flat. I mean, if you watch Dom versus Jackson Stone, Dom was really fucking trying to get him going. I've never seen Dom fucking stomping the mat and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying, hitting the mat and trying to get, and that was probably him making an adjustment because they were, a little bit slower to get going as a crowd, just for whatever reason this time around. So, I do think, almost 100% that the show is going to play well on video. I just thought that, as performers, they thrive on that actual pop. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
There's not a big adrenaline spike when you're reading the tweet, the next day. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, this was a sick match. Like, I don't think that really gets the fucking blood flowing like, a live crowd in the palm of your hand. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The next one certainly got a lot of blood flowing. Isaiah Broner and Kaplan. And, you put this match graphic up and it's exactly what you thought it would be. And that is a very big positive and a testament to that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this was, if anybody's familiar with these guys, all I'm going to say about it is exactly what you would think it would be, and it delivered.
Yeah. If you want to watch grown men just beat the hell out of each other, this is your match right here. Man, they talk about pushing each other to the limit. It's great. Just great. And then we roll into Rip City Shooters and the Major Players. And, crowd into this one. Of course, it helps when the guys go into the crowd, as they often do in Akron. When the Rip City Shooters are in the Akron territory, you can almost guarantee that they're going to end up in that crowd, feeding off their people that are there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this certainly delivered and was everything I could have asked for out of the main event, honestly. And I won't spoil everything that goes on and happens. I'll leave that for those who have yet to watch the show. We'll just say that.
Yeah, watch it, folks. But it's good. It was it was a fun and violent and well done match. The rivalry between these two sides, I think some of what we're seeing, the dynamics and stuff, that's a lot of fun to watch. As Myers has worked the Indies before. Cardona had a cup of coffee, maybe. Not really. And, to see him back now and he works obviously all sorts of other indies. And I think that they just blend that TV style. They found the way to blend the TV style of wrestling and indie wrestling so well.
Yeah, I think, specifically Myers is just a master at everything. And, Cardona has really taken to everything. But like somebody like Cardona, you know what I mean? Like 10 years of television experience, you know what I mean? That is a lot of equity that you've built up with wrestling fans, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
it's just, it really is an incredible story. You know what I mean? Who knows where that guy's going to wind up eventually or what's going to happen, but I'm enjoying that we're a small part of the ride right now.
Yeah. And, as we talk about how putting certain people up against others elevates them, or it becomes a learning experience for them, the other side of this rivalry, you start to see Josh and Wes really learn that next level style, you kind of see the TV style permeating into them a little bit, just because.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like, that's what you want them to do. You want them to
100%. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sometimes learning is hard. And sometimes it takes a while to understand what's going on.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's what those guys are going through. You know what I mean? It's not always, a walk in the park. Yeah.
Well, hey, folks, that is kind of our recap of the show. Again, it's on IWTV right now. Check out AIW's The Doctor Is In. Watch it. Let us know what you thought. You've heard us talk about the crowd, but look, we think that these matches absolutely delivered. So you as a viewing audience, feel free to let us know. AI Wrestling on social media, and let us know your thoughts on what we talked about and what you see as you watch the show. There streaming on IWTV, available now. And before we get into questions from the AIW Discord, which, oh, by the way, if you ever want to be a part of, you can join. Go to patreon.com/AI Wrestling to do so. And $5 tier gets you into the AIW Discord. There's all sorts of different threads and conversations going on in there, one of which is the podcast, and we open up to questions every week when we record. And also, don't forget, just in case I forget later, still tickets available April 22nd. Minoru Suzuki will be at the Odeon. General admission available there, shop.aiwrestling.com. All right, into Discord questions. We have quite a few, John. We'll see what we can get to because we've talked quite a bit here already. We will lead off with this. Have you given any thoughts to releasing AIW rankings? And
no, I think that it kind of backs you into a wall, so to speak, in how you book things and how you get to things. And I think sometimes it hurts AEW. You know what I mean? That's just my
Sure.
opinion. But like if you only watch Dynamite and Rampage, and then someone's racking up stats on Dark, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's the number one contender. You don't really see that journey. I mean, I get that they want you to, and they want you to consume all of that content. But I just think that there's too many, you get bound by too many rules once you get into rankings.
Yeah. It worked for us for Go for Broke, but
right. But sometimes, it's to run the whole company that way. I think, the best pro wrestling is just some sort of easy conflict. And, we blended that throughout Go for Broke. There were rankings and there were different conflicts and things like that. But I think, in wrestling, sometimes you just need one little conflict and then you have a money match, and it doesn't matter what either person's record is. You know what I mean? So no, I don't think that's ever something that we would do.
Oh, Tom Dunn, you big dummy. Can I do a puppet show at the AA Rose sponsored Steve Guy Variety Show at the next AIW Fan Fest? You got it, Tom Dunn. Easy answer. Although I know that
Tom Dunn's facing some legal issues.
Whoa, we got smoke detector going off here. Please hold. All right. Got some cooking going on in the house. It smells delicious, but smoke alarm going off. Sorry, folks. Sorry, Justin Summers. All right. Yeah, also, I will say, though, Tom Dunn, there's somebody else whose name I'm not going to mention because it'll upset John Thorne, who has been wanting to do a puppet show, AIW themed, for a very long time.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. We'll just leave it at that.
It's one of your least favorite podcasters. Could there be a YouTube or Patreon weekly show from the school with a match or promos? Nothing fancy.
We've talked about doing maybe a YouTube recap show, and we've done various, I guess, incarnations in the past. Nothing super recently in the last few years. As far as the school, I don't want to do any sort of competitive things at the school. It's just a bad environment, bad optics. It's an active gym. They have music blasting throughout the place. People are working out when we're training. There's just, I don't know. Yeah. I just think it's sometimes, content for the sake of content is not good.
It's also a little bit of a disservice, right, to the students, because they're really trying to hone their craft and polish themselves.
Right. And if they're going out there and they're going out there and looking sloppy, it's not doing anybody any favors. You're not going to be a fan of the guy that fucks up a schoolboy, or you know what I mean, or is blowing spots because he's nervous. And I don't like putting that sort of pressure on the training environment. And I think, you have to do that in front of paying customers. You have to, that's the only way you're going to learn. You're not going to learn, with a bunch of your peers standing around clapping. And putting it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I obviously, I would like to do more with promos and story development and things like that. And, as we're finally kind of getting back into the regular schedule and we're all trying to lock back in, you know what I mean? I do see things progressing. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but we've been trying to catch up on the DVD trailers and things like that recently. And, we're trying to get more active and, kind of lock in. And I think, as we get back into our regularly scheduled programming and, everyone is kind of, I've said it, and even though we've been back for a year, you know, everyone was still somewhat kind of in this like funk of uncertainty because of the pandemic, and the time that went into go for broke and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now as we are, it seems as if things are trending more towards normalcy. I would see more things kind of lining up, so to speak, but I would not want to do any sort of matches or competitive things at the school. Just because I just don't think it's fair to those kids that are trying to learn.
Can you go into the decision-making process? Can you, or will you? Are you willing to? What made you join in on some of the earlier collective weekends, but not the recent ones? And what factors would be needed to join in on a future one?
Well, we weren't asked. I mean, we weren't asked. Last year I declined, and maybe because of that, we're kind of off the team. I don't know. I would have probably declined this year, though. I mean, I just think it's a big money pit, and there's money to be made, but there's a lot of money to lose. Like I looked today, and it's just like, to go to Dallas from Cleveland is $817 one way. I didn't even get to look at the return flight price because I just went, whoa. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We weren't asked. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, more than anything.
Well, and then, in terms of declining, Florida, there were a lot of situations going on, comfort with where we were in optics in terms of COVID, but also, proximity is a thing because we have our referees, right? We have Pedro is a huge part of what we do, getting things together in terms of organization.
And I think where we're different is, no disrespect to anybody, but you're going to see a lot of the same people on every single show. And like, we don't do that. We didn't really do that when we did it in Jersey. Now some of those people are some of the people that you see on every show, but at the time they were not. And, we had a few here and there dabbled in, but, like I wouldn't want to go down there and just book random wrestlers because they're there. That's just, I don't know. That's just not how I do it. And I think that's how a lot of these shows are. And they're just shows for shows. And, I understand that some people are going to make a lot of money, and that's great. I just don't know where we would, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
to do an authentic AIW show, the logistics would be very difficult. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe we'll get asked again. Maybe we won't. We didn't get asked to do the Vegas one either. So, I mean, maybe we're just not in the conversation anymore. And that's fine too. Because I just don't think that, I don't, I just really, Bryce Remsburg told me one time, like, get a home base and have a home base and, kind of have that build it and they will come mentality. And that's kind of what where I'm at, like Akron is great. I can still be home in an hour. It's expanding somewhat, but for us to really travel, and like we're like a home, we're like a team, for the most part. The expenses would be crazy. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to anybody, but like, if we were running Dallas, I'm going to go in $800 on an Arthur MacArthur flight. You know what I mean? Like, it just logistically, I don't know how we dig our way out.
Sure.
To give the authentic AIW show.
Does Nathan Zagura know he's going to do commentary before he gets there, or is he asked after he arrives?
So the first time, it was on the fly, in February, I believe. Yeah. So he was just there. He has been coming as a fan for a couple months, and he had stated that he really wanted to try it, and he was there, and I saw him, and I said, "Hey, you want to try? Go for it." And we just kind of threw him in cold. And then he had reached out and said, "Hey, I want to come. I want to try again if you'll allow me." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And him and Wadsworth did like an actual conference call last week, and spent an hour on the phone going over every single match, and he took incredible notes, and then went on and researched everybody on his own. So he was like super prepared for this one. So, as long as he wants to continue kind of trying it out, I've told him it's an open door policy, and seems like probably until he gets super busy with traveling for the season, he's going to continue to come around when he can.
Where am I going from here? Okay. Good question here. We did announce Gauntlet for the Gold will be happening in May, and that will be taking place at the Tadmor Shrine in Akron. And the question being, what will the winner receive? Will it still be the title shot at Absolution? And I presume this question stems from, we've discussed we're moving things around a little bit and changing things up.
As of now, yes. But that question maybe is going to get me thinking. Maybe I'll give that some thought. But
okay.
As of now, that is the plan. We were trying to find a larger venue for Absolution, but it has not panned out thus far. So there's a very good chance that Absolution is going to be at the Tadmor Shrine this year.
Oh, all right. So let's see. From there, kind of a fun question. When will there be a Kaplan action figure on the merch page? We don't really have an answer to that.
Yeah, I don't have any action figure connections in that way to get custom action figures made.
Who is next for those dastardly cowards PME?
That is a good question. And I have not specifically thought about it, but if you're just going by a tag team that has won recently, I would think that members only may be getting a shot.
Really?
Based on their win at the Winchester.
Wow. Okay. Interesting news there, folks. How about that? If you can answer this, what happened to Ethan Wright? Yeah, that's more of an Ethan question, I guess I would say. Ethan's just, in general, deciding to step away for an indefinite period.
He decided that, he needed to step away for, what I will say are personal reasons. And, I told him if he does decide to return, we can have a conversation about that and see about working him back in. But I think, he just, for whatever reason, thought that he could be doing more and performing better for us, I think, is what it kind of boiled down to him, and he wanted to take a step back and kind of just analyze his entire, where he's at in his career sort of thing. So, we told him absolutely, we would give him that time.
Yeah, it felt like he wasn't giving us the best version of himself that he thought he should be delivering. Right? It's a fair way to say it.
Yeah, I think, he was finally getting, the platform that he had been chasing for a little bit, and just thought that, maybe he could come back a better version, so to speak, and be more prepared for it. Cause it was kind of, we kind of threw him into the fire there, at Go for Broke and, going forward. So I think he just wants to take time and get everything, dot the I's and cross the T's, so to speak.
Since it's almost April Fool's, best pranks on someone. I don't know that we want to, you know what I mean? What if they don't know that we did it?
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a lot of that goes on, honestly. There's like not a lot of like ribbing, I'm sure there's something, but nothing that's, coming to mind.
We had one ongoing one for years. This dates back to between you, myself, and Biggins with regards to a former AIW roster member. I don't want to give all the details. I'll tell you off the air, but
yeah,
if that's not striking your memory.
One that I remember that Nick Sank and his brother, they played this ongoing practical joke on Chandler for like a year. They would call him and ask about the Cadillac for sale, and he would get so pissed. And like they went as far as to like they made like a Craigslist page and just sporadically, they would just call him and put on these accents and call from different numbers and always ask about the Cadillac for sale. And Biggins would get real fired up about it. I don't know if he ever found out officially, who was behind the Cadillac calls.
Arguably the greatest AIW rib, perhaps at the Biggins Bucks.
Yeah, that was
just how fired up he would get with that.
His mom actually texted me because in the AIW merch store we have Biggins Bucks joggers and a Biggins Bucks crew neck. And she's like, I don't know if Chris would like this. She's like, has anybody bought this yet? I said, no, nobody's bought them yet. Just something to make myself laugh, to razz them up a little bit.
Yeah. Any chance Wrestle Rager will be a double shot weekend like last year?
I don't think so. We're trying to have it as a standalone. We're trying to keep it in August sometime. August is fairly busy on the schedule right now. We are returning to the North Canton Street Festival, it would appear. We're trying to get Wrestle Rager, sometime that month. And, breaking news, we will potentially, the hope is, be bringing back the J-Lit tournament in August this year.
Okay. All right.
So there will be a double shot in August. If everything goes together, but it will probably not be Wrestle Rager, but it may be back-to-back weekends.
I'm going to skip over this one because it says Mount Rushmore of superheroes, and John Thorne, not really a superhero guy.
No.
So
you can answer it if you want.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about it. I know you. I don't know. Superman and Batman got to be on there.
My only connection to superheroes is, for whatever reason, my parents got me a Batmobile waterbed when I was a kid.
Nice. That's pretty sweet, dude.
Because I mean, but I didn't know anything about comic books as a kid. It was just based on the 1988 or 89 Batman movie.
Yeah. I don't know. For me personally, I always loved Captain America, and I don't know who the fourth one is I'd put on there, so it's hard to say. The fourth one could be any number of people for a variety of different reasons, so I'll leave that open. I think Dom mentioned before he didn't have a student ready to debut yet. He did. We talked about this. He thought he was X amount of time away. Don't recall his exact answer. And he thought maybe he only had one that was a few months away, a couple more that were multiple months away, like 6 year, whatever. When do you generally know when someone is ready to debut is really what this question boils down to.
You just everybody progresses differently. So, it's not like a set curriculum, like, okay, you guys are going through this and then that's it. You're ready to go. Everyone just kind of takes the things differently. And, the problem is like, members only, there were brothers that were ready to go with them and they kind of have vanished,
Mm-hmm.
So that's, 2 new students that were ready to go that kind of fell off the face of the earth. And that happens a lot. There's like people that are like really close and then they just kind of, for whatever reason, don't see it through to the end. So there's a few that, are getting close. I'll tell you what, like, you could tell that wrestling is getting popular and kind of COVID is, people are kind of feeling more comfortable, with the vaccine or whatever, because we have been getting so many inquiries in the last 2 weeks about training. So you really just never know, though. I know that there are a few people that Dom and, Prohibition think could be ready relatively soon.
There you go. All right, final question. Perfect that Mr. Whiskers chimed in because she has a little bit to do with this. Ed Battis wants to know, will whoever rattles the damn mic all pod stop? No, it's not Mr. Whiskers. It's only been last maybe 6 months. So I guess I ask you, John Thornton, do you hear rattling from my end over to you or vice versa? This is a thing that people bring up, and I don't hear rattling. Do you hear rattling? You don't hear rattling?
No.
Do
you hear me rattling?
Every once in a while, I hear what I know is your the cord for your headphones maybe brushing against the mic.
Yeah, sometimes.
But that's not
right now, Mr. Whiskers just came right in and gave the whole mic a headbutt, but I don't know. It made a rattle noise.
But it's not a constant thing. So I don't know. I'm
yeah, curious. I also, full disclosure, like this is like live to tape. I do no special editing anymore. When we would record them in person, I would sit and I would edit everything, through. But this way, I just don't do it anymore. I just kind of stop recording and upload it for the most part. Because when we're in person, there's a lot more people and banter and things being said that maybe shouldn't be getting out into the pod world.
That's a fair assessment. Well, that's it. That's the last question. I'm glad we put an end to that. We have no idea where it's coming from, folks. So sorry. We'll work on it. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, get those tickets for AIW on April 22nd, shop.aiwrestling.com, watch The Doctor Is In on IWTV. It's streaming right now. And get ready, Gauntlet tickets is a thing we touched on last week. Let's end with that. Out to sale to the general public yet, or do you have a general idea of when that may be?
Out. Yeah, I sent them out. I sent them out to the email list on Saturday, and they are available to the public now.
Okay. There you go, folks. So shop.aiwrestling.com, and that is also going to be in Akron back at the Tadmore Shrine. So keep your eyes peeled for more information on that and who's going to be a part of it. As well, we have a Winchester show, if I'm not mistaken, in May too. Is that correct?
May 5th.
May 5th. Oh, yes. There you go. That's right. So much going on. Check all of it out. If you want to stay up to date, one way is to join the Patreon, patreon.com/AI Wrestling, or follow @AI Wrestling on all social media. All that being said, my name's Steve Guy, and for AIW owner John Thorne and Mr. Whiskers chiming in, we'll talk to you next time here on The Card Is Going to Change.